Hello, and welcome to another episode of Untraditionally Traditional, a podcast with me, Brittany Duncan, a millennial homemaker. Join me each week as I share all the things I've learned that make keeping your home, garden, and life running smoothly, all while working. If you are enjoying the podcast, please be sure to subscribe in your favorite podcasting app so you get the episodes downloaded straight to you every Monday. Now, on to today's episode. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Untraditionally Traditional, a millennial homemaker. I hesitated about releasing this episode now because two of what I consider deeper, thought-provoking episodes so close together may be too much. If you listen to the No Grit, No Pearl episode. But alas, authors write the books they need, and well, podcasters podcast the episodes they need. So here goes. I had this epiphany yesterday while cleaning my home. I was thinking about all the things that I'm juggling. My full-time job, my side business, my other side business, my time with God, with Johnson, with friends, and with myself. And I was feeling a little bit stretched thin. Not overwhelmed, not, just feeling like, there's not enough time in the day. And I said to myself the thing that you probably hear all the time, God doesn't give us more than we can handle. Which then got me thinking about what makes people crack. I don't know. These are like my vacuum musings, right? If God doesn't give us more than we can handle, then why do some of us break? I'm sure we all know someone who has suffered with depression, suicidal ideation, or heartbreakingly who has taken their own life. Why did God give them more than they could handle? I imagine those who have lost their loved ones ask themselves. That's a hard question and a big topic to handle. But when I was thinking about this, hold on. Let me take a quick pause and add the disclaimer that I believe in God wholeheartedly. But I know that's not everyone's stance. So when listening to this episode, as I encourage you to do with all of my episodes, take what you like, leave the rest. If you have a different idol, a God, deity, whatever, for yourself, that's fine. If you make yourself an idol, the quote, I can handle anything that crosses my path stance, honestly, the logic of this episode will apply either way, but for the sake of my own convictions, I'll be talking about God in this episode. So if that bothers you, no problem. This episode's probably not for you, and I just encourage you to skip on to a different one, but that's my little disclaimer there. Okay, so back to what God gives us. What does God give us? Many Christians would answer that question, everything. The earth, the sun, the wind, the rain, flowers, friends, cows, coworkers, husbands, heroes. Those are in no particular order, by the way. I realized, I like an alliteration, but cows and coworkers, those are separate categories. Anyone who I work with that is listening to this, I love you all dearly, and don't read into that. Anywho, on a simpler level, God gives us tools. Okay, that's one of the things that we get is tools. And I started thinking about a change of view from God doesn't give us anything we can't handle to God gives us the tools to handle anything. Slight change of words, big change of view. Let's say it again. Instead of God doesn't give us anything we can't handle, it's God gives us the tools to handle anything. Now, everyone's tools look different. Some tools might not even seem like tools to you, but they are. So let's start with something simple like, I wish my house was cleaner. For the life of me, I cannot get ahead of it. I'm sure we have all been there at one point or another, right? There are a few tools God may have blessed you with that you can tackle this. Maybe it's time, maybe it's money, maybe it's your voice. The question we need to ask ourselves is, are we using our tools? So, time. Am I putting my time to use, or am I wasting it watching television or Instagram Reels? Money. Am I putting the money I've been blessed with to use to hire someone to help me clean? Or am I buying meaningless items as a distraction instead? Your voice. Am I using my voice to ask for help? Or am I bottling up my frustrations or being the hero, being the martyr? Okay, that's a big thing in being a homemaker. We all know that. You can slip into that trap really quick, right? So God gives us the tools. We decide whether or not we're going to use them. Let's look at another scenario. If you want the ability to grow your own organic produce, okay, that's our scenario. We want to grow organic produce, but we don't have a garden or the knowledge of how to build one or manage one. A tool that God has given every single one of us is our brains. And oh my gosh, are they miraculous? I mean, seriously, when you think about it, all the things that we can do with our minds is incredible. Our conscious minds can handle 40 to 50 bits of information in a single second. And amazingly, our brains can process 11 million bits of information every second. So when you think about it, that's like your view, the sound, the temperature, all those things your mind is processing. And your conscious mind is maybe, making note of 40 to 50 of those things consciously, which is incredible. In a single second to be able to think of 40 to 50 things. I know, believe me, there's days where I think like if my own head were not attached to my body that I would misplace it. But our minds are doing a lot more than we give them credit for. So are you using this tool, right? Our brain, it's a tool. And combined with the other tools that we have access to, like books, podcasts, videos, articles, and all the sources of information out there, there isn't much that we couldn't accomplish if we just used our tools. Are you going to learn how to be an organic gardener overnight? No. But you absolutely hold the ability to teach yourself how to be a gardener. I did. I did not know much about gardening, but I researched and honed in my gardening skills. I learned how to run my own irrigation because having it installed professionally was out of the budget. I learned how to mix my own soil because quality was important to me. I learned what grows well and what doesn't grow well in my garden zone, mostly from research in books and articles and classes, but also actionable research, trial and error, trial and success and documentation. Look at how far people have come, from cavemen to who we all are now. That is through generations of human beings using the tool that God gave them to progress. I like to think that God sees what we have accomplished and is proud of us. Could he have breathed life into us as fully educated IQ of 400 individuals? Yes. Could he have curbed our ability to use our tools only for good to avoid creations like the atomic bomb? Yes. But we are blessed with being free agents of life. It's a lot of responsibility. So I ask you, how do you want to use your tools? What do you want to achieve, and what tools do you have to get there? Sometimes a tool is admitting you need help. Sometimes a tool is letting go of something. Sometimes a tool is physical strength. Sometimes a tool is our ability to use Google. I mean, hello, I wouldn't be doing half the things I am now if it weren't for Google and access to the internet. A tool that is always available is the tool of prayer. My point in all of this is to say that we are in charge of our own destiny. God has a plan. He gives us the tools, but he also gives us free will. We are not victims of destiny. We are victims of our own circumstances. Sometimes we need to wake up and put our tools to work to achieve what we want in life. And then, this goes back to the no grit, no pearl, but like put in the work, use the tools rather than wait for it to be given to us. What was given to us is the ability to get it if we just put the effort in and use our tools. So I encourage you, I know this episode touched on some lighter things like cleaning and gardening, but also some deeper things like depression and suicide. And so I just encourage you, no matter where you are in your journey, if it's just anxiety over a sink full of dishes, or if it's crippling depression over just life in general, use your tools. If all you can muster up is your tool to admit that you need help, that is huge. And I shouldn't say if all you can muster up, that is a huge thing, but know that like that is the tool that you always have, is to reach out and ask for help. But in terms of like the lighter things, look at the tools that you have. You can teach yourself. It's all about what we're willing to do. What do we want? Do we want it bad enough? There's, pretty much when you run the everything through the lens of time, money, help, there's a lot that you can accomplish. even just from like asking your friends. I mean, I don't have friends that if they asked me for help doing something that I would not try and help them. So sometimes it's the power of two gives you the ability to achieve what you're trying to do, right? There's no fault in asking for help in anything. If that's what helps you, that's the tool God gave you, was like the strength to ask for help. And you should view it as a strength and not a weakness. Same with your time. Use it wisely. You know, another thing you hear all the time is that not every second is guaranteed, and that's very true. And so use your time wisely. Do you want to use it to build things and create and achieve goals, or do you want to use it to scroll on Instagram? Don't get me wrong, I scroll on Instagram too, but it should be a conscious decision for you. If it's getting in the way of you achieving your goals and not allowing you to use your tools, like your hands, your brain, your creative side, that's something to look at. Anyway, that is all for now. I hope that this resonates with you and that you spend this weekend thinking about what tools you've been given and how you can use them to achieve your goals. And I will see y'all back here on Monday. Thank you for listening to this episode of Untraditionally Traditional. If you enjoy the podcast, please share it with those special people who would love it too, and write a review. For more tips and photos of my home and garden, follow Untraditionally If you enjoy the podcast, please share it with those special people who would love it too, and write a review. For more tips and photos of my home and garden, follow Untraditionally Traditional Pod on Instagram. Until next week, let's continue to make our homes places of joy and service to ourselves and those we share them with.